VHS Files contains spoilers, adult content, and harsh language. Listener discretion is advised. Welcome back to the VHS Files, everybody, and we fuck on the first date.
We do?
Yeah, okay.
I like this. I like this episode.
April Fools.
April Fools, we're waiting for marriage.
That's right.
Yeah, Josh is still a virgin. He doesn't know anything about the woman.
I did not know half of what they were talking about in this movie that we watched for this episode, guys. I was like, what the hell is that article she's reading in the kitchen? Like, what is she talking about? Anal entry?
What is anal entry? What is that?
Welcome back to the show, everybody. Tonight we're talking about April Fool's Day for April Fool's Day. Not a very highly regarded movie in the horror 80s horror genre, but I have a soft spot for it. And my first thing is going to be, Jason, you asked who put this on the list for us to watch, and I said I did. So I want to know why you asked that question. Why
I asked it?
Yeah.
Well, since we're talking about the guy who loves mostly horror movies here, to me, this does not. To me, it doesn't even feel like a horror movie to me. It's just a comedy. Well, it's more than it is anything, but it's definitely not one of my favorites of the 80s. I'll talk more in depth at it when we get to the end. We get the good, bad, and the ugly, but yeah, it's definitely not a high on my chart.
Well, I picked this movie because I did watch this a lot as a kid. It was on one of those tapes that was dubbed with a bunch of different movies on it, and it was like the first one on the tape, and you had to watch it to get to the next one. And it depended on whether or not I felt like fast forwarding through an entire movie, or usually I would just put the tape in, watch whatever was on it, and that was the end of it. But this was on one of those tapes. And you say this doesn't feel like a horror movie to you. To me, I feel like I'm watching a Friday the 13th ripoff.
Yeah, kind of, sort of, but not really.
Well, what we're talking about here is the ending and how you're left feeling, right? Because if you're feeling like, oh, none of that was real, so this isn't a horror movie, then you don't think it's a horror movie. But if you're left feeling like, well, all that was basically a horror movie, and then there's a twist at the end, then you can still view it that way. I think it's just, did the end irritate you or not?
Well, I think I was let down a lot by the end, even as watching as a kid, because when you get 80s horror movies, you have an expectation, and there's a lot of it. Even with Frank Mancuso Jr. Producing this, produced Friday 13th sequels. There's a lot that you expect from that franchise that doesn't happen in this franchise. So therefore, as a young teenager watching these movies, you're like, where is all the normal Friday the 13th tropes? There's no topless women running around. There's really no sex.
Yeah.
You're like, where are the 80s tropes? And
there are no on-screen deaths.
Yes, and there are no on-screen deaths. But yeah.
Well, because there are no deaths in this movie. That's
Shut up! You're ruining the movie.
The face smash could be. He was still alive.
Well, we'll talk about that. We'll talk about that because there are problems I have in this movie. Now, again, I hold this movie special in my heart just because I watched it a lot as a kid. I recognize it's not a great movie. It's not the best horror movie in the world, but yes, that was a big thing that I got as a kid, was being let down because I felt like I was watching a Friday the 13th movie. A lot of because Amy Steele plays a character in this, and she was in Friday the 13th Part 2. So that is the association I'm making as a kid. But yeah, I remember the first time watching this and finding out that nobody died in this movie. I was like, what? Like, I felt betrayed.
Yeah.
And this movie spells it out for you from the beginning all the way to the end of what's going to happen.
Yeah, the title of the film.
Yeah. I mean, but, as a kid and being stupid when you're a kid, because most kids are stupid.
Oh, yeah. As a father, can confirm.
Well, it's just, you got movies based on holidays, because that became a big thing in Hollywood after the success of Halloween and Black Christmas. And then you had Friday the 13th and My Bloody Valentine. And then you got April Fool's Day. You even had Saturday the 14th, which is definitely not a horror movie to me. But like I said, you were expecting something. It's another movie in the horror section at the video store that's based on a holiday, so you expected something.
With a very interesting VHS cover too. Like I remember.
Yeah,
that was
cool little cover.
My first note was I remember this. I'd never seen this. This is my first watch for me. I remember that cover in the horror section. Always.
Yeah, it's striking enough. It's enough to make you go, I kind of think I want to watch that. But it's the one that you always still keep putting aside. I would not have seen this movie as much as I did had it not been on a tape with something else that I was looking for.
Yeah.
But that's just how I've grown my love for this movie. Still, and even as a kid, like watching it, still being upset that it's not people getting killed for real and whatnot in the movie, like. But watching it now, honestly, like watching it this time, I had a lot of fun watching it this time. But I came into it knowing exactly what happens and knowing where the characters end up in the end of this. But wow. I do, Eric, as a first time watch, had you had the ending of this spoiled for you, or were you expecting the way this ended?
I didn't know the ending.
Well, that's good for you.
And yeah, I mean, completely was not spoiled. I, of course, expected a twist. But I didn't know if the twist was going to be a twist on who the killer was, or if it was a complete farce like The Game or whatever.
Right. Yeah.
So I wasn't totally sure until it actually took me a while. You could say it held on to me for a while. Maybe I'm just, I don't know, but it wasn't until the twin concept was presented and I'm like, okay, like that's ridiculous. I enjoyed it. I don't mind the twist. I was waiting for a twist. I got my twist. So I wasn't, but I could see how it could rub people the wrong way.
I was thinking to myself, A24 could do something cool with this.
Oh, for God's sake.
Oh, Jesus.
Eric's fucking raking me over the coals about A24 on Twitter. Check out our Twitter feed for that.
Well, all right. Since we've already talked about how this movie ends, this movie, because I mean, I've seen it a few times. So after the first initial watch, you're like, well, shit, the way it ends. You're like, I thought it could have been something better. But this reminds me of another movie. It's a big movie that came out, I think after the 2000, I can't remember how old it is, maybe late 90s, early 2000s, that once you watch the movie once, it doesn't feel the same anymore because the twist is out there and it takes away every time you watch it from there, even though it may still be a good movie. To me, and it's not the same league of movie per se, but this reminds me of watching The Sixth Sense. When you get to the end of The Sixth Sense and you find out that, Bruce Willis is dead the whole entire time, blah, blah, blah. When you watch it the second time, all you're doing is going back and trying to notice all the stuff where he's not there.
I absolutely understand your comparison. I think
that's what I feel like with this movie is just, after you
for
see
me,
it
those
once,
movies
you're
are
one
two
and done.
watches.
Yeah, maybe two.
But I agree,
maybe.
Not a great rewatcher, but like, a big twist movie. You're right, kind of leans on that. But yeah, I like the second watch to see if everything lines up right. Yeah. Then after that, I agree.
Where this departs from The Sixth Sense is on every rewatch you watch of this after you start to find more and more wrong with it, because the continuity is not correct for quite a few things.
Oh, God, no.
But with The Sixth Sense, I still go back and watch that movie from time to time. And even knowing the twist and knowing where it's going, I love still watching it and seeing the drama unfold. There's a captivating performance there between Willis and Haley Joel Osment.
Oh, yeah. So, like I said, that's why they're not in the same league of movie. But it even kind of like Fight Club. Once you find out that it's Edward Norton talking to himself through the whole movie.
Yeah.
And I've watched Fight Club tons of times. It takes a little bit away.
Yeah.
With these movies with these big twists in them after the first watch, because your mind's blown the very first time, like a Fight Club or Sixth Sense or whatever like that. Of course, with this, my mind wasn't blown because it was just a mediocre horror movie of the 80s, even going through the movie. But when you get the twist in, then you're like, really, you take your popcorn, you throw it in the fucking air. What the fuck? It's just shit. Everybody's laughing and giggling and shit at the end of the movie. You're like, what the hell?
I thought there was an opportunity for a cool ending, and we'll talk about that once we get there, I guess. But I was shocked to find out that the writer of this, Danilo Bach, I don't know if I'm saying his name correctly, but he was the writer of the Beverly Hills Cop movie and is credited with creating the character of Axel Foley. So he is like connected to that in a big way.
That's pretty awesome. And there was an effects guy that worked on Alien.
I don't remember seeing that one.
I didn't write his name down, so I can't back it up.
The director, Fred Walton, TV director, pretty much. I mean, didn't really do a whole lot of anything after this. Bunch of TV sequels and whatnot. So, yeah, I mean, you don't have a big... I mean, the biggest thing about this one is you got Frank Mancuso Jr. as a producer, and he's coming off of all the Friday the 13th stuff going on at this time. So... And that's probably another reason it feels like a Friday the 13th movie. I actually checked to see if the cinematographer was the same for any of the Friday the 13th movies, and he hasn't done any of them. So,
well, and there's a ton of shots like when they're running down to the docks, when they're standing on top of the top, walking down in the forest, and then the boots shot of when people are hanging from upside down. You're like, oh, this is totally Friday the 13th right here.
But this movie was released March 27th, 1986. Eric, why don't you take us back to 1986?
We're sending you back in time. Whoa, this is heavy.
Well, Josh, U.S. President Reagan presides over the relighting of the renovated Statue of Liberty in 1986. Hey, you guys, you know what the Statue of Liberty stands for? It's because she can't sit down. Clint Eastwood is elected mayor of Carmel, California. Not wild? I didn't know that. You guys know Clint Eastwood was into pottery as well. Yeah, he used to say, "Go ahead, bake my clay." Halley's Comet. You guys know Halley's Comet passed by Earth in 1986. You guys know why the vegan comet was upset? It's because it entered the atmosphere and it became a little meteor.
Jesus Christ.
Was that like a PETA friendly joke?
I warned you these were bad. And yes, Jason, Metallica released Master Puppets.
Thank you. One of the best metal albums ever.
Didn't we bring that up on our last 1986 movie?
Yes,
I think I did.
Yeah, he did. And finally, we all remember this nerdy little fellow. Hit it, Josh.
Hi, my name is Teddy Ruxpin. I want you to meet my friend.
Teddy Ruxpin. Who had Teddy Ruxpin?
The sax coming in. Oh, shit was just getting good.
Who had Teddy Ruxpin? I did.
I did not. Never had it.
Never had it. Man. And if you had one today, you would have a shit ton of money sitting in your bank account right now if we had one to sell.
I remember that Teddy Ruxpin I had stayed in my house for a long time. There's a 10-year gap between me and my brother, and then I have two sisters after him. And that Teddy Ruxpin was still around when I moved out of the house. Now, half of its face was missing, and the original clothes that were on it were no longer on it, but it was still in my parents' house.
Dude, we should have that for the show. Half ripped off face of Teddy Ruxpin. That would be awesome. He talking. Welcome to the VHS Files.
So we're going to start talking about April Fool's Day here. Now, how do you guys like the setup for this? We've got our drive over the dock, and we got the introduction to all of our kids in the movie. And that's one thing I will say starting into this is I like that they established that these are college kids.
Yeah.
Because, I mean, at this point in the 80s, you could have assumed that they were trying to portray high school kids. And that was the first thing I was like, these are not high school kids.
Yeah.
They're all like classmates of Muffy.
Yeah. And they're not just college kids. They're like well-to-do college kids.
Yeah. They even
of
put
varying
that out
degrees. There. Like the poorest one of the bunch is still like upper middle class,
right?
At least.
Yeah. I think they even mentioned that at one time, how they're all kind of set up in life to do these things. And stuff like
Arch has some funny lines.
Welcome to my home and lifestyles of the rich and undeserving.
I actually really liked him in this movie.
We have Biff. That's not a Back to the Future movie. Can we name any other movie he's been in besides this and Back to the Future?
What are you looking at, butthead?
Biggest thing that I always kind of attached to this too is I was like, that's the guy from Back to the Future. That's the one thing I kept going back to when watching this movie. We're introduced to him and I love the opening with the video thing.
Oh, and I start convent school next semester, and I fuck on the first day. April Fools.
I think all that stuff's really fun.
I was expecting this to be, I mean, you guys talk about Friday the 13th and those movies. The just the general banter and the performances in this are way better than those movies.
Poor shit.
I was expecting like total cheese, like those slashers, but this is a higher level, not a way higher level, but they're kind of fun to watch, just goofing around with each other. Whereas generally in those other movies, I'm just waiting for violence to happen.
Well, that's the thing that I kind of noticed watching it this time, and was, I was looking for another angle to watch it at, since I've seen it as a young kid and portrayed as a horror movie. But I was like, what am I missing here? I figured I'd watch it with a different lens. And I think the characters they set up here are all likable. I think they're smart. I think they don't make a lot of dumb decisions. I think a lot of things that happen in this movie, I'm like, holy shit, I can't believe they went that route with this. I do have issues with the storyline as we go through this. Like the whole thing that sets this in motion with the guy falling or jumping off the boat. We understand that our characters here are pranksters, and they're going to have a weekend at their friend Muffy's house. She lives on an island somewhere. This is a very like Frogs like setup.
Yeah, or not Better Off Dead, but One Crazy Summer.
Yeah, similar to that too.
I got that feeling there at the beginning too.
Well, you're only adding fuel to the fire. That one of my first notes here is I feel like this movie is an amalgamation of all the movies we've talked about on this show so far. Because I'm getting
it fits right in there, doesn't it?
It's like I get Friday the 13th. I'm getting Frog vibes. I'm getting Back to the Future from Biff here. I get elements of The Stuff, which I'll talk about here in just a minute. Leprechaun with some of the casting, like it's just like,
oh yeah, Friday the 13th as well. Did you say that already?
Yeah.
And then also
Summer School.
Yeah.
That dude that was in the movie last week, the
guy that played Larry in Summer
Leprechaun.
School.
Yeah, in Leprechaun, and now he's in this. Like, I can't get away from this guy.
But I also
he should have been Beastmaster.
There's elements of there's spots towards the end when they're out like in the attic of the house looking out onto the lake where I'm like, this seems like The Fog. And then when they're all in the house and like, we've got to stay together, I'm like, fucking you're next, rip this movie off, man. Like there's a lot of stuff here that it's like, this is just every fucking movie we've already talked about.
Looking at some articles for this and stuff, it gets compared to Scream a lot. And, you're talking about all these movies it's reminding you of. And, what about the idea of it being kind of, it's parroting the genre of slasher films.
Yeah.
In a way. And it's kind of, I think there's even somebody, am I wrong that somebody's in the movie says this is like a movie or something? Or
well, you've got the aspect of the guy filming the entire
obviously
time
the guy
too,
filming is metaphorical. Yeah, you're right. And so I that's just an interesting angle to look at it, to go, okay, well, this is a movie that, it comes from a lot of people that worked on and they're obviously trying to evoke that stuff, but they're parodying it in a way.
So what if April Fool's Day was the birth of meta movies? Boom.
Boom.
I'm just saying, like, I feel like you make a good point there. This is doing things that, like I said, I think A24 would.
It's not my point, by the way. I want to make that clear.
Well,
I thought Josh. Oh, he's over there. Yeah.
No, I mean, I read this, but yeah.
But like I said, I mean, as much of A24 could do something cool with this as that being a joke, like this is the exact kind of movie that would probably be a fucking blockbuster at the movies in this day and age. I think this movie kind of got a little bit ahead of itself being a prank movie in the end here. And I think if they would have gone a little bit of a different route with either some of the killing or some of the mystery, this could have been a whole lot better of a movie. I honestly think the reveal at the end is the best part of the movie. I'll go ahead and play my hand now.
Well, one thing I read was that, it seemed like the ending really did kind of make people feel betrayed, cheated out of like.
I read that a lot.
You know, you've got the final girl, and you're about to have the final girl versus the killer, and then no, just kidding. None of this really happened. Everything was pointless.
I don't know. I think the final girl was Rob.
Rob, yeah,
he's the final girl.
That's true. Dude, poor guy. That poor bastard was so scared.
That's the point I want to make with this movie. Is I feel like the guys are the girls in this, and the girls take more of the initiative as like guys would in horror movies. I think the guys kind of are more like damsels in distress in this movie more than the girls are most of the time.
Yeah, you're right. There's no real tough guys in this movie.
Yeah, I mean, you got like Nikki that goes in the well because Harvey wouldn't.
Yeah, because he's just trying to fuck her, and she just wants to take a shower. So she's like, "I'll go in the well because you're a fucking hornball."
Yeah, well, remember the reason he was there is actually to hook up with Muffy's family because they're rich.
No, he was there to hook up with anybody that would take him, dude. Because that dude was like hitting all up on Nikki.
No, but it's true. But he was also like
he put it out
clearly there for the money. That's what he was talking about it.
Well, that's the other
get a job.
Well, that's
this guy. Yeah, he's looking into the future. Yes, he'll take some side trips with Nikki and whoever, but
Muffy, everybody.
Buffy. He doesn't even care.
He doesn't.
He'll even go with Buffy.
Muffy got bored.
Muffin,
Muff Diver,
Muff Dive. You know, that's the thing.
That was so awkward.
Hal is so creepy, dude. Like I would have no problem believing he's the one going around trying to kill these people.
No, you're right. All the guys, even Biff. I need to stop calling him Biff because I feel like
his name's Art.
Arch.
Yeah, Arch, but I wanted to say his name because he's funny. Tom Wilson. Yeah. He was funny, but like even he was more likable, even though he was just a complete womanizer, and like at least he was honest, you know.
No, he was trying to be a womanizer. I don't really think he's good at it.
Yeah, maybe.
And that's the other thing too. Like he approaches Muffy, and like it looks like it could be very predatory. But she kind of is like, no, we're not going to do this, and goes in a room. Like, that's the other thing about this movie that I really enjoyed this time is it also flips on its head all of the negative connotations about women and sex and shit like that in horror because, you've got the one couple, Chaz and Nikki, banging in the bedroom. What the fuck was going on there? I have no idea.
That's how you know this whole movie's a joke because that position that they were in was the most hilarious sexual position I've ever seen.
We talk about they're in like chapter 13, section 24 of the Kama Sutra at this point. Let's just try some weird shit.
That was so funny, dude.
And that's
what on earth.
That's kind of where I'm having fun in the movie is when we get in the house, we're starting to get established in the house, all the pranks that are going on. In the 80s, it was, you know, a big thing, like, you know, the homosexual stuff and people being gay was not looked upon very well. Stuff that we've talked about in this show 100,000 times.
You mean the homophobic stuff? Yeah. And in this, they're totally like
that
comfortable with their sexuality.
When they push the bed together and Chaz and Art are just like,
you gotta be kidding. Unless Muffy knows something about us, we don't. Let's play hide the sausage. Nicky, help! Hold me like a man can hold another man.
And it's like, I feel like they genuinely are just like, whatever, man. It's just fun. Like, it seems a lot funnier in this than it does in any other 80s stuff.
You're totally right. It's clearly a reaction to that stuff.
Yeah.
It's them. It's their reaction to that and saying these two guys who just want to get laid are going to freak out when they're put in single beds in the same room, and they don't. They just make a joke about it. Like, it is completely different.
And that's one thing I did like about this. These people seem like they could actually be friends in real life.
Yeah, no, you're right. They have great chemistry.
Good job of playing. I mean, that's kind of jokes me and my friends used to make, and I was like, they played it perfect.
And a lot of the good stuff there, I would say, comes from Nikki and Chaz and Arch. They're the kids that I'm enjoying being around more than.
You got Skip too, that was playing the knife game with Arch on the boat.
I feel like they missed an opportunity with Skip because Skip goes out of the story early on. And, you know, it's the whole setup in the beginning with the guy getting hit with the boat, which I have a lot of problems with, which I'll get to in a minute. But, you know, they take Skip out of the movie really early. And I feel like he and Art had a real good, like, buddy comedy duo thing going on the boat that could have made the rest of the movie better. But with them taking him out early, I think hurts the movie a little bit because I think they're funny together.
But when you get to the end, there's a reason he was taken out first.
Yeah. I mean, I know, but it's still like that's the one thing I think hurts here. I honestly don't even know if you need that other little twist at the end. Like
Arch is next anyway, right? Yeah, they're both gone pretty quick. But anyway, not to destroy your entire argument.
Yeah, you guys talk about the people you recognize. I recognize Skip. I forgot his actual the actor's name, but he's actually one of my favorite 80s movies, The Wraith. He plays Augie in The Wraith. He's one of the first guys that dies in the car race. When I saw that, I was like, dude, it's Augie. I was like, that's where I know him from. That's a movie we got to do.
Yeah, we're going to have to tackle that one at some point because I saw it as a kid. I didn't watch it a lot, but I got the Blu-ray that just came out, so I mentioned to watch it.
I've watched The Wraith way more times than I have this.
Yeah.
So, I think I watched it just about a month ago.
So the whole setup on the boat, like, I understand that it needs to be there, and it's a great way to set up the story that's going to happen throughout this weekend. But what I have a problem with is there's no way this guy could have applied that makeup in the water. Like, it makes no sense that they could have pulled that off.
You're right.
That's my first problem of many that I'm going to get to throughout this movie as far as that goes.
He's a former special effects guy. He knows how to do it underwater.
So he just had it in his back pocket and just slapped it on his face real quick, and it looks fine.
It might have been like a suction cup type thing where he slapped it on his face and it just sticks.
There should have been more blood, though.
Oh, yeah, for sure. Honest. Well, there should have been more blood in this movie, period. But there's a reason there's not, you know. Well, there is one spot where you see some blood.
Pretty bloody.
Yeah. Yes. But we talked about Skip getting taken out early. Now, the other thing I have an issue with is the whole scene with taking Skip out. Like, if he was in on this from the get-go, why are we following him around the island being sorry for himself for this boat accident happening if he's in on it?
Because we're making a movie.
Well,
and trying to make you believe that somebody is killing all these people. So you had to get a little bit of that. You're just getting that. But yeah, in the sense with what we find out at the end of the movie, you really didn't need all that. He could have just turned up missing.
Well, let's talk about some of these other characters. I mean, we talked a little bit about Nikki. Nikki and Chaz are the couple that are the hornballs for the. Actually, I take that back. Everybody on this island is a fucking bunch of hornballs. They set that up pretty well on the boat over. Like,
I like the other characters. I think Nikki, the girl that plays Nikki, is really funny.
Yeah. Yeah,
I think she has some like legitimately funny moments, and
she's funny. I like the guy with the camera too, and how they kind of say like whenever all this shit goes down and they go in after Chip in the water, he's like, he doesn't go in, but he's like, I was taking my pants off. Like,
there were 3 guys in the water already.
Yeah. But they also introduce Hal, who drives up with what's his name?
Rob.
Everyone's
forgetting Rob's name because he's boring. He's like the least interesting person.
Hi, Harvey Hal Edison Jr. But please call me Hal. Only my folks call me Harvey, and I just can't stand it.
I mentioned in the stuff that the guy who plays Mo, like I thought I saw him in something in the 80s and I couldn't think of what it was. This fucking guy is who I was thinking of. When I watched the movie, I was like...
It's not Mo, but it does remind you of Mo.
It's not the same actor, but this...
You just had me thinking it was Mo for a minute.
Yeah, this character is what I was thinking of when I thought I saw him in something else.
I thought the same thing.
You know why they call me Mo?
No, why?
Because every time people give me money, I always want Mo. My name's Harvey, but they call me Hal, so I figured Muffy must stand for something. Muffin?
Muff Child, Muffo, the Muffster, Muffin Stuff.
Muff Dive.
He's just being fucking creepy with Nikki.
Yeah, he's very awkward. He's very creepy.
And you mentioned Rob being boring. Like, this dude's having a midlife crisis at 23. It's ridiculous. He's so upset that someone, like one of his professors said he had a general lack of seriousness.
His story should have been he didn't make it into a college or a university he was trying to get into or something.
Right.
Mm-hmm. and that's why he's depressed. Like, just the fact that this advisor said, I don't think you're serious enough. Like, that's like his bad, which maybe on purpose. Like, these kids don't know what real problems are, like the kid is really dealing with something.
They're all spoiled brats.
Yeah, they're all spoiled brats, except for Nan. She has an actual reason to be upset with what happened.
Yeah. The Nan character is a very hard, it's like, it's weird that she's in the movie.
I agree. She seems out of place. She's the only one that's serious out of everybody.
Right. And that's what makes the end, like the very, very end of this movie, so fucking weird. It's like, the very end. Why would she be the one doing this to her? It doesn't make any sense.
It would make sense if she actually kills her at the end.
Bingo.
And that's what I wanted. This joke went too far, and now you're gonna die.
Well, that's the thing.
But they make that a joke on top of the other joke. Too many jokes.
Yeah. Like, how many times can we beat this dead horse? As many fucking times as we want. But yeah, I mean, with the whole thing with the Jack in the Box, because we got that kind of at the beginning of the movie. So there was something.
How would man know that?
Yeah,
how would man?
Unless
Muffy at all.
Muffy had told her, hey, there used to be this Jack in the Box as a kid that frightened the shit out of me.
Well, it didn't happen in this movie.
That is one thing they do here is they seem like Muffy is very like this elusive person. Like they go to school with her, but nobody really seems to know very much about her. And that's also kind of weird.
This is one thing where on a second watch, I don't know if it would hold up so well, is she's really strange with that woman when she's preparing for the weekend.
Yeah.
She's acting, to me, extra weird. If I watched it a second time, I'd be like, would she be acting this weird?
I think, knowing the twist and knowing where this is, why all this shit is happening, I kind of read that as she's just very excited to see if she's going to be able to succeed at what she wants to do here.
Right. And the lines make sense. Like she says, like this has to go off well this weekend. That all makes sense. I think she's. But in that regard, it also sets her up. Yeah, it also sets her up as like this manic person. So I think it's a pretty good setup for her character as like. It looks like one thing the first time you watch it. The second time you watch it, you go, "Oh, that's what's going on."
Well, yeah, you see her when she's talking to her. She's dragging a dummy. She's propping a window open. You're like,
"Yeah,
what the hell is really going on here?"
They tell you, yeah. I mean, if the title isn't obvious enough, they tell you throughout this entire movie that you're probably going to be disappointed because it's all a joke.
Yeah,
because there's so many pranks. I mean, some of them are real funny. I love when they're at the table and everybody's they're given the toast and Arch fucking has the trick chair. Yeah. That's pretty fun. And his response to it is funny. And then when they all drink and it's fake wine glasses or whatever, like all that stuff's fun. Like I don't know. I found this movie a lot more fun this time around.
And it puts you on your toes a little bit. You start to question everything, and what's real, what's not. You've already seen people, starting with the stab on the boat, you're already seeing people pretend to die and then not die. So you're immediately thinking, okay, this guy that got crushed by the boat, he's not really dead. We never actually saw him die. He rides off in a boat screaming weirdly.
Yeah.
That super weirdly, not like people who get hurt.
That seemed acted. Yeah. Like watching it this time, I'm like, man, he's really like going for it here. Like
yeah, usually when people get hurt, they kind of lay there. They don't just freak out.
He's going for the DiCaprio performance here.
And I do like how they set up, like after dinner, you had all those pranks at dinner. And then this is where whoever it is tries to start messing with their minds when they keep going to the rooms, and it keeps cutting to each one of them being pranked in their rooms with certain thing. Like you got Hal or Harvey, he stole those cigars earlier and he's smoking one and it explodes in his face.
I saw that coming.
Yeah, that was odd. I mean, we're talking about April Fool's Day and he steals his cigars. Come on.
But no.
We've all seen the Bugs Bunny cartoons. We know what's going to fucking happen.
And it says so much about his character when he's in that study and he takes the first cigar and he puts it in his pocket and then he goes back and grabs a wad more and puts them in his pocket.
Well, like you said, he's there for the money.
Yeah.
He's greedy. He wants to get the hookup.
And I love that Nikki's calling that out through the entire movie. She's at one point she's like, you better watch out. She might be your boss one day,
Right.
I feel like these kids in this movie feel more like a group of friends than a lot of the horror movies I've watched.
Yeah, I agree.
And it just, I feel like the magazine scene in the kitchen where they're talking about the sexual positions and all that stuff. I feel like that works pretty well here, and it almost feels like a National Lampoon sort of scene, except a lot more graphic. But like, there's a wholesomeness to it, even though they're talking about, you know. But I'll say this movie kind of moves fast. I don't think it really. The movie can feel boring, but I still think it moves fast. Like, I don't think it's
89 minutes.
Yeah. And like, so, I'm always kind of, taken aback by when they discover that Skip is gone to the end of the movie is just one day, and it goes by pretty quick.
Yeah. Well, it's April Fool's Day. So that's the question. Is the day they get there April Fool's Day, or is the day after April Fool's Day?
That's a great question, too, because when they have dinner, she says April Fool, which I wanted to ask. She said April Fool, no S. Is that how you say it? April Fool? Like if you do something, you go, April Fool. I thought you said April Fools.
I say April Fools. I plural.
I say April Fools.
Well, she said it singular, April Fool. Like you're an April Fool, or I don't know. But she said it to all of them.
She's a fucking fool.
April Fools.
Maybe that's where her character goes crazy. She says April Fool instead of Fools, and that's where she turns and becomes Buffy instead of Muffy.
Is she a vampire slayer? Where's Sarah Michelle Gellar?
Speaking of which, let's get to this.
Almost Famous.
I know that, dude.
I don't know them. I know her.
Haven't you ever heard of that guy? What's his name?
That guy who was in that movie that was out last year.
I'm sort of famous for being almost famous.
Almost famous.
Almost famous. Oh, right, yeah.
I mean, there's a couple of people you instantly recognize here for me. Amy Steele being one, again, because of Friday the 13th.
Tom Wilson. Ken Olant.
Well, kind of can't help but notice him. He's been in like 3 movies we've watched in the past couple months. This dude's popping up everywhere.
Ken, come over here.
Yeah,
Ken, come over here and be on the show.
He's the new mascot for VHS Files.
Ladies and gentlemen, our new
Ken's
guest.
hanging out over here.
Our
Ken
guest
Olant.
host.
He sleeps on my couch.
He strips at night. He sleeps during the day on my couch.
And
Hey, wait. What if this is what happened? Because remember, he was a stripper and he slept during and he graduated from summer school and he decided to go to school to become a doctor. This is actually after summer school because, they changed his life and he helped him graduate and then he went on to college. This is afterwards.
Does Rob say he's trying to be a doctor in this?
They said it's something he's like pre-med. They say that because remember he gets mad at Kit for talking about it.
Yeah, they do mention that.
Okay, I couldn't remember. You might be right, Jason. I think they're all a shared universe. Hold on, I'll ask him. Ken.
But hold on, one more. But then he drops out of med school and starts a painting company with his brothers.
And he only paints. He doesn't repair anything. He just paints it.
We're starting a VHS Files podiverse, guys. Like
you have to listen to every episode or nothing will make sense.
That's right.
You have to go back to the very beginning to understand what the fuck we're talking about.
Well, I'm going with the obvious here with Tom Wilson. Biff.
That's who I got.
And he's great in this.
Yeah, I think he's awesome in this.
Yeah.
Is that everybody's pick for this one?
Yeah, because the only other girl, I mean, he's definitely the one that people would recognize. He was never A-list, but he was definitely, with our generation of people, who Biff Tannen was.
Yeah.
I mean, he might as well just have changed his name, Tom Wilson, to Biff Tannen, because that's all anybody knows him for. And I know he actually does villain voices on SpongeBob SquarePants. Still to this day.
It's a show.
And I'm like, really? I'm like, no. But you talk about the girl from Friday 13th, and I mentioned the Augie guy from The Wraith. The girl that plays Muffy was also in a movie I liked as a child, a horror movie. She was in Waxwork.
Yep.
And
Real Genius.
And Real Genius. And I love Real Genius, dude. That's a good movie. I would like to talk about that.
She also starred opposite of Nicolas Cage in Valley Girl. One girl, and this is going to lead into our next little thing we're going to do here. We're going to do some recasting. I thought I knew the girl who plays Nikki from somewhere because I'm like, God, this girl looks so familiar. And I do know what I actually know her from, but it's because she looks just fucking like Sarah Michelle Gellar.
Kind of. Yeah.
Yeah, I get it.
I can see that. I remember from Just One of the Guys.
That's what I ultimately went back and I was like, oh, it's that fucking movie.
And Chaz is also in Just One of the Guys.
So that was kind of what keyed me into wanting to do a recast for this. I was like, well, obviously pick Sarah Michelle Gellar to recast as Nikki because they look so much alike. So I was like, well, let's have a little bit of fun and do a recast. We've done this a few times in the past and it's been fun. So I have started watching the show Community.
Oh, and I guessed it before we started. How did I guess?
I don't even know how you knew that I started watching Community, but so I have been taken in by that, and Community is fucking hilarious. I'm only on the first season, but I'm roped in from this point forward.
Yes.
And I was like, holy shit. Like, I can relate someone in this movie to each character in Community. So,
oh, shit.
So I'm leaving Nikki out because obviously Sarah Michelle Gellar would win that one. But for Muffy, I did Alison Brie, and her character in Community would be perfect for Muffy.
Okay, well, I just want to say Alison Brie was my Muffy as well.
Awesome. See, this is what I like when we're on the same wavelength about this kind of stuff.
And I'm just gonna sit here and stand silent because I have no fucking idea what they're talking about.
Well, Google Alison Brie, you nerd. Go ahead, Josh.
You've seen Alison Brie, I guarantee you. But Rob and Kit would be Joel McHale and Jillian Jacobs. I did Harvey would be Chevy Chase and Chevy Chase's character because he's like this
great.
predatory.
Okay, I know who Chaz is. Chaz is Abed, right?
Yes. I was struggling back and forth with this though because I was like, Skip and Arch were like the right. funny guys.
Yeah.
And I didn't want to break up him and Donald Glover's character.
Troy, yeah.
But I had to for this because of the filming.
The movie stuff.
Yeah,
the filmmaking stuff.
So I thought that was a perfect fit. And then Donald Glover, the ex-football guy, and I felt like Arch was a football guy. I had Yvette Nicole Brown as Nan. Because she seems like she could hang with everybody.
She'd be offended.
But she's got like some dark secrets in her past.
Because I wasted 15 years of my life on a man who left me with nothing but stretch marks and a foggy memory of 2 bland orgasms, and now it's time to get what's mine.
And I did Ken Jeong as Skip.
Senor Chang.
Oh, and
great.
John Oliver as Constable Potter.
There you go. Get him in there. That's the ferryman.
And as I'm watching,
the ferryman.
As I'm watching the movie and I'm watching episodes, and I'm like, I actually think I did a pretty good job of associating these characters to these characters. So.
Yeah, and they line up pretty well. It's pretty good, pretty solid.
So, but that was kind of where my recasting went with this one. So, guys, take it away. Eric, did you have recast?
Yes, I have a recast.
All the ones you just said.
Well, like I said, Muffy is Alison Brie. I think she would play that sort of sweet but also crazy.
Yeah.
The two sides of that character pretty well. Kit and Rob, I went with Florence Pugh and Alex Wolff. A24.
Alex Wolff.
For you. He's from Hereditary.
Oh, the guy from, okay, gotcha.
Oh, okay.
I could just see him crying about his academic advisor giving him shit. He always cries in movies. Anyway, in Hereditary, he's crying all the time. Anyway, and then Chaz and Nikki, I have Timothy Chalamet and Anya Taylor-Joy.
You're just turning this into an A24 movie.
After Josh said he was going to make it to an A24 movie.
It gets a little different here. Nan, I have Elizabeth Moss.
Oh, I can see that.
Right? Kind of a sweet girl that goes a little crazy. Skip is Pete Davidson, and Arch is Rob Gronkowski.
Who's that?
The football player from the New England Patriots. And I see that, what you're saying. I'm the Gronk. I play football. I
came up with this list as we were speaking.
Okay.
So,
well, Jason, this is usually the one where you shine. So go for it.
Well, I don't know. Well, I took this because, you did pretty good with your Community thing. I don't watch the show, but I know some of the actors after I looked on thing because I know Glover and all those guys. But I went because I told you this movie seemed more like a comedy than a horror to me. So I was like, what if our good buddy director, and I always think I pronounced his last name right, what if this was a Judd Apatow movie, whatever? How do you sound his damn last name?
Judd Apatow.
And I was like, that's what if I said it was a comedy, this is what it kind of be. So I went with the people he uses in some movies, and some people that some of these people went to direct and use them in their movies. So I went for Rob as Paul Rudd.
Okay.
As being just, because he could be the whiny scream. Imagine Paul Rudd at the end of the movie screaming in the fucking closet.
I could absolutely see this movie as a fucking Judd Apatow movie.
Yes.
Yeah.
My Harvey was Justin Long.
Okay.
I could see him, he kind of reminded his character.
Or Bobby St. Long or whatever his name
was.
Yeah.
From Zach and Miri Make a Porno type. It's like, I'm still here for the money. I would like to go muff diving on you.
What a line.
Chaz.
I thought that was a winner.
Chaz is Seth Rogen.
Okay.
Walk around with the camera, making dick jokes. Arch, just I'm here to catch all the women. And I went a little different. I put that as Jonah Hill. The new Jonah Hill.
Okay.
Not the old Jonah Hill. Newer Jonah Hill, where he wants to, whatever, That was where I was kind of like, I don't know. Skip is Danny McBride. It's whatever with the fucking switchblade, playing knives. And I can see him and Jonah Hill on the boat throwing it. Jonah Hill being a whiny bitch. Don't throw it so close. So Nikki is Aubrey Plaza.
Okay.
She's a little kinky, a little crazy.
I like me some Aubrey Plaza.
And I can see Seth Rogen and Aubrey Plaza banging in weird positions in bed.
Can we get that? Just that clip?
Can we
just get that clip?
That's how I'm piecing it together.
Can you just clip
the
that
closest
later?
thing I would have to that would be the sex scene between him and Charlize Theron in that movie they were in together.
Yeah.
When that happened, my mind was blown, dude. I was like, how did they get this shot? How did they get these two in bed together?
Well, supposedly Charlize is pretty funny anyway.
Everybody says she's hilarious. Love Charlize Theron. She's hilarious.
Sitting on a toilet.
My kit, which went a little bit out of normal. I had two, but I went with the look. She looks like Anna Faris.
Okay,
a little bit.
See where you're going there.
But I also put down as just crazy. I put Christina Applegate.
I can see that
her down too. Both of those.
Both
Nan as of the little hoity-toity sitting in the corner. I really don't care. You people bored. I put Emma Watson. Of just sitting in the fucking corner, whatever. But then she comes to kill at the end. I can see it.
Classic Apatow actress Emma Watson.
Yes. No, I said some of these are other movies of the people. They started out as actors and directed their own movies and put some of these people in their movies. So they're from the same.
So it's 6 degrees of Judd Apatow. Okay,
I'm
just trying to. 2 degrees of Judd Apatow.
Yeah.
Okay.
And then Muffy, just of the wide-eyed, I'm kind of crazy, but I'm here to have a good time. Emma Stone. Sorry, Emma Stone.
Emma Watson.
They're all Emma Watson. Sorry, I had them right next to each other. But I put Emma Stone just to play the crazy wide-eyed, wanting to play pranks on everybody.
I'd like to see Emma. I'd like to see Emma Watson go. Now you got me doing it. You
see, it's contagious.
I'd like to see Emma Stone do like a crazy psychopathic sort of character like that. I think that could be fun.
Absolutely. I thought you were going to say for Arch, I thought you might say Jason Segel.
That's what I was going to say too.
I kind of had a couple wrote on here, but I just like, I want to do some Jonah Hill in there. So you got a Community remake. I got Judd Apatow universe.
Now we cut to a scene from Frogs, a deleted scene from Frogs, where they're out looking for Skip, and then Arch steps in a fucking landmine.
Yes, I was thinking of Frogs.
I still thought Friday the 13th too.
It's basically a ripoff of a scene from Friday the 13th Part 2, minus the snake. There's no snake in Friday the 13th, but yeah, I got major Frog vibes here. I was like, why the fuck they gotta use snakes, man? Fuck snakes.
Why's it gotta be snakes?
Yeah, the snake thing was weird, and then they mention it later, like, oh, the snake was a surprise. I didn't know there'd be a snake there, and you're just like, what?
Yeah,
I was kind of fucked up.
There's some logistical issues. We get that reveal at the end. She's backed up to double doors.
Yeah.
Okay, these double doors are about to blow open and, reveal everything. And everyone's just kind of chilling, and they end up kind of laughing. And I'm thinking, a couple people here should not be laughing. One is Nikki, because Nikki falls in a well thinking she's in a nasty well, and
with decapitated heads and dead bodies.
Yes, with two heads of her friends and a dead body. I mean, that was a traumatic experience.
Yeah.
When she falls in that well, that's one of the best like scares, you know, if you want to talk about like scares or whatever in this movie.
There's a couple of people that should have been walking away from this weekend with some major PTSD.
Yeah.
Like,
God, yeah.
And you know, Kit and Rob are upset at this point. They're still just discovering what's going on, but Nikki's chilling there on the couch like, I'm in on the joke. And it's like, no, dude, you got screwed almost worse than these two did.
Yeah.
Yeah, but Art shit himself.
Literally.
Yeah. Well, he was upside down. You don't know. Maybe he had.
Oh no, he got jerked up in the air and a fucking snake was trying to bite him in the face. Yeah. I would shit myself. Josh would have shit, pissed, lost.
Also, keep in mind they had pork and beans the night before.
Good call back there.
Franks and beans. Franks and beans.
I mean, why are they even eating that? She's rich. Why are they eating Franks and beans for dinner?
They make that point. That's how they're rich. That's why they're eating with sporks.
Yeah,
they're eating with. They're not even eating with fine china because that's how rich people stay rich. They don't spend their money.
The oldest lie.
One thing I'll say about when they go into this house and they start looking around at everything, and then they open the double doors to the dining room, and it's just all this classy furniture and whatnot. I can't help but think to myself now, like, this is the kind of place that you would see on like a roadside attraction that is like stuck in the 80s. Because all the furniture here looks so hoity-toity, and
well, it's old for them too. Because they only go. It's like a summer house or whatever.
Yeah.
Like they only go there occasionally, so it is a building that just sits there all the time on the island. It's outdated, and it looks, you know, everything about it's outdated and old.
And I'll tell you, the painting that Kit and what's his face have in their fucking room.
Rob, we can't remember Rob because he's boring as hell. Go ahead.
That clock behind the eyes, I mean, okay, yeah, I understand what they were going for there. I think that painting looks much more creepy when he takes it off the wall and there's no eyes behind it.
Holes there.
Yeah.
What about when there was the severed head behind it?
That's a great prank. I think that one's good.
I like that one. Yeah. And what's funny is the cat clock with the eyes. The house I live in and I inherited it. There was one of those cat clocks hanging in the kitchen when
I
moved in. And I saw that cat clock. I was like, damn it, why did I throw that cat clock away? I could have used it tonight because it didn't work. But
you usually dress up, for episodes, which is fun. And I think it's cool that you dress like a fool tonight.
Oh.
Well, that's exactly. You hit the nail on the head, Eric. I came dressed as you.
I was waiting for that because we're all dressed the same. I'll be the first to admit that I am absolutely a fool.
A promise from me, Mr. T. See, we always have.
But that's another aspect about Harvey. Whenever they're, worried about their friends, someone could have potentially been hurt, and they're going to this well for the water, and he's still just trying to get in Nikki's pants. That whole conversation between him and her there at the well is pretty cringe, but I think she handles it pretty well.
Because I would really like to plow your field.
Throw me some water.
I mean, he's a coward, but he does eventually go try to help her out of there.
Yeah.
A little late. He shouldn't have never let her go in there in the first place, but
right.
He's not too terrible, which is kind of what you're saying. Like, all these kids are kind of likable, even the despicable ones. They're they're not that bad of people. Like, yeah, he's an opportunist that's trying to get laid. I mean, that's
Hal's my least favorite. I could say.
Yeah. And he's
right there with Rob. Was Rob's boring?
Rob's too boring to hate him.
Yeah,
he's too boring.
And it's Larry from summer school. I can't hate on Larry from summer school.
He's just trying to make a living.
But I think it's again another smart choice that they're focusing more on the females in this movie and giving them a little bit more, leadership roles, I guess you would say, in this, because the guys end up in situations where they are like, the guys are usually the first ones to die. Like with Nikki, she finds Chaz, not dead, but you know what I'm saying.
Something. What happened there?
They
stuck
cut his
in
dick
with
off.
Chaz. Now, hold on. This is a logistical thing. We're talking about once you've been quote unquote killed, you're brought in on the joke and say, okay, this is what's happening, and you have to help us trick the rest of the kids.
Mm-hmm.
This is what we've established at the end, right? So in a matter of 30 seconds or something, they go into Chaz. They go, Chaz, this is all a joke. People aren't dying. I'm going to put blood on your crotch. You have to cover it with your hands and act like I cut your dick off. Okay, bye. And they run out of the room, and then he lays there ready to go for the rest of the scam.
Yeah, because I guess he knows. I don't know.
I mean, it's just like...
The only argument I could have there is he was trying to convince Nikki to stay, and potentially someone could have brought him in on the game before this to try and keep her there.
She just fell in a well full of corpses. She thought she was like completely
I'm not saying it makes sense. I'm just saying.
I know, but I mean, she was that was so too far. Okay, here's another question. All this was fake, yada, yada. It's all part of the game or whatever. But what about the baby recording in Nan's room? Was that really like Muffy knew that she had an abortion? She didn't know.
She didn't know.
Muffy didn't know.
That was one of her explanations. That was one of her explanations at the end. She said there were a couple of the pranks that I put in the rooms that were taken the wrong way, and I am sorry. Like, I don't know.
She said that the S&M gear in Nikki's room, you know, I don't know.
I think she knew Nan had the abortion. I think she did.
I really think that I would prefer this movie if that were the case. She knew Nan. That was a dig at Nan, and Nan actually kills her at the end.
If this was all just a try,
would give this movie like an extra half a star for me, or a whole star, or whatever you want to call it.
Because that pushed her too far, because she had the abortion and she made fun of her, and she's like, "You're gonna fucking die."
Yeah, you have the twist, and you can
and then
play
you
your
have
game,
the twist,
and then you have the kill at the end that satisfies the bloodlust that the viewer has. Someone's gotta die.
And originally, Muffy was supposed to die at the end.
Yeah, that was the original
thing.
Yes,
but I did see that they were going to have everyone kind of come back and get her, I guess.
No, Skip was going to kill her because that's her brother, and he was going to kill her so he could inherit.
He actually goes crazy. He kills her because of the money and everything.
Well, I did read that there was another ending that they cut where the gang of folks that got tricked kind of got their revenge on her, and maybe it was another trick. I don't know if it was actually killing her, or it was just like a revenge trick, kind of like how Nan bread has non bread has garlic Nan. Garlic Nan has her little trick at the end, but
no, she's not garlic. That's too much flavor. She's just plain bread Nan. That woman is boring.
Unsalted.
Yeah, unsalted cracker.
Unleavened and unsalted.
She's a rice cake. She's a rice cake. Nothing.
She's a pile of flour.
Oh Jesus Christ.
So what do you guys think about when this finally starts to come together?
Like what, everybody's just getting killed off one after another? Bam, 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 bam.
Well, not just that, but just like how they start to develop a story. Okay, there's a reason for what's happening. Muffy has just gone completely fucking weirdo overnight and then is now acting like a completely different person. Like,
well, they even noticed that she's wearing different shoes.
Yeah.
Her hair is unkept, like she's coming unraveled. That was the whole twist with the twins thing that we get at the end.
Well, I think, looking back on it, it is a nice, they ramp up the craziness. So they'll do like,
oh yeah,
they do something crazy, then another, and they're pushing your gullibility, right?
Yeah.
Like each thing, and then it ramps up quick for that sort of third act where everything goes crazy.
Mm-hmm.
But that is like, oh, there's twins. Oh, we found a photo. Oh, now we found an escaped mental patient note on the boat, and then we got to get and it's just like it starts going so cuckoo.
Yeah,
at that point, I think it's fun.
All right, this is the thing. Who fucking puts a damn doctor's note on a boat to tell you how crazy somebody is?
Oh, look, there's a note.
Oh, there's a random note from a doctor saying that
I
Muffy
found
is
at
crazy.
night.
That's ultimately where I start to have a lot of problems, is like you're putting a lot of trust in your friends. Like I have a hard enough time with the riddles in an escape room to get out, and that's not for my life. Like I can only imagine like people probably wouldn't notice a fucking envelope in a boat that that is absolute information you need moving forward from here.
Not only that, the contents of the note are insane.
Yeah.
Like, the most ridiculous shit. Like Yeah, it made me think of what's that goddamn movie?
But either way, the fact that, all right, you're expecting your friends to find this after they just left the house that had a bed full of blood because Nikki and Chaz have been killed. All this crazy shit's going on, and they're running outside. They're losing their minds. I think, and somebody's trying to kill them, and you think they're going to find a random note on a boat.
Right.
Yeah, it was making me think of Malignant, is what it made me think of. You know, because Malignant's like, oh yeah, crazy twin cuckoo shit, you know, going on.
When they finally get hold of the constable, he's like, and you don't hear the conversation, you just hear Rob's responses, and he says something about Muffy. Right. So that's where the story starts to unfold a little bit, and I was getting major You're Next vibes here because they're like locking themselves in the house. Everybody's going to different rooms, and
that's part of the fun. I like that it's this big house on this isolated place where they can't get away and they can't get a hold of anybody, and you've got a pretty small cast and all that kind of stuff. It's fun. It's, you know, it's like Knives Out, or, you know, some little like whodunit mystery,
right,
you know, type clue type thing.
I really enjoyed the score whenever they're in the house, moving around the house and whatnot. I thought the score here worked pretty well. It does sound similar to what you would hear in like a Friday the 13th and whatnot.
Oh yeah, very.
But that's because Charles Bernstein, who did the score, also did Nightmare on Elm Street, Deadly Friend, Cujo. So he was in the horror score business around this time.
Yeah.
You've
and
heard
they're
some of
trying
his
to
stuff.
evoke all that stuff. I mean,
right.
They want you to think of that stuff. So it's not just, you know, an accident that you're thinking of those things.
Right.
They're creating that entire vibe until the very end where they pull the rug out from under you.
All right, now the part where they get back up to the house, you know, when I told you in my recast, I said Emma Stone as Muffy.
Mm-hmm.
Picture that when, remember, they're running into the house and you can see her at the window staring like this, and she's sitting there like all crazy eyed. That's why I put Emma Stone, is I could see her looking in the window. Looking like I'm gonna fucking kill you. I was like, that's totally Emma Stone.
I feel like, in you know, again, I'm just kind of poking holes here now, but you know, I find it kind of weird that they amp Muffy up really fast. Like once you figure out that it's supposedly this twin Buffy, she is just completely batshit from that point on. When throughout the day she seemed weird, but hasn't done anything like too ridiculously nuts, or like. And maybe she had a bad night last night. Maybe she's hungover. That was like, I could make that assumption from there.
Yeah.
And then they ramp her up right there at the end, which seems really odd, but there's a reason for it. We find out, but still, like, that's another thing that kind of jars someone watching this, I think, is like, whoa, this made a turn real fast.
This is a really insane prank that is, you know, basically impossible to replicate.
Yeah.
And you're lucky that, like, some of these people didn't kill you in the process, right?
Yeah.
Like you try to capture Arch in the woods, and he gets a hold of you and strangles you and kills you because he's a big man, and you just.
Well, they even say that in the reveal when they're talking about everything that happened. I think it's Kit. She says, "Muffy, you could have got yourself killed," and she was like, "Well, with Arch over there, I almost like." I think when the snake thing happened, which wasn't supposed to happen, Arch probably came at her with some fucking like. What the hell did you just do to me? Like,
no, everyone was fine. Once they knew it was a joke, everything's fine, Josh.
Yeah.
That's what we saw. They go, oh, we gotcha.
Oh, you wait till next year. You're going to fucking die.
And with the way Ken is acting, when he's like trapped in that room and he gets the fucking thing put on his face and he runs out, like, if I have to say anything about him in this movie, like that part is awesome when he's freaking the fuck out the whole time.
It's not unlike Summer School where they
put the makeup on their faces. That totally reminded me of that.
And I love the reveal when like everybody's just uncontrollably laughing, and then Rob runs in the room and it just makes him laugh even harder. You know, like
he's having a mental breakdown.
Yeah,
I know. I feel bad for the guy. Plus, you know, I don't know if you heard, his advisor said that he wasn't serious, so he's already pretty upset.
Yeah.
Like I said, he could have been the killer in part 2.
Yeah, it needed that final kill. It needed Nan to slit her throat for real, and like somebody took this too seriously, or you took it too far, and this is your payment. It needed that for the end, man.
Yeah.
That would make such a difference to me, I think.
And I think
I still enjoyed it, though.
And that makes me think that these guys were probably going for a tongue-in-cheek aspect to this all the way around. Like, part of me feels like this is played seriously, but it obviously was not. I mean,
even that end is a gag.
Yeah,
because they think you think that, okay, we're finally gonna get our kill now, and then they go, nope, still don't get the kill.
Yeah.
April Fool.
And if you were in Sweden and got a cut of this movie in Sweden, you would have seen that the characters would just suddenly disappear. They would cut out all of the quote unquote kill scenes or anything with graphic content. So that I read some information about it on IMDb.
Weird.
It was like the Swedish cut of this is just as the movie goes on, characters just continue to disappear and then they all reappear at the end. Well, hey, Jason.
What?
Whose tagline is it anyway?
All right. Taglines here today. Same thing as every week before. I write some, Hollywood writes some, and Eric and Josh get to pick who wrote it. So whose tagline is it anyway? Luckily for me, I had more taglines to choose from because they've had many re-releases of this.
Uh-oh.
So I was
scared.
like, yes! Where last week, there was one tagline, and I had to make up all the other ones. And I did fool y'all guys a couple times, but you can see through my shit. And here we go again. And yes, we have been keeping score. Maybe one day we'll have a little counter up here.
It's a game where the taglines are made up and the points don't matter.
No, they matter because we believe in winning. Good friends, ... with some time to kill.
Real.
Josh is over there reading them right now.
Yeah.
Oh, I'm not actually.
Hollywood wrote it. All right. It's a killer party.
I like that.
I
think
that
I think it's
I
fake.
want to say it's real.
Huh?
I say
Real?
fake.
I say real.
It is fake. I wrote it.
God damn it.
You like that one, Josh? I thought it was pretty
I
good.
thought that was pretty good.
Yeah, it's good.
The party to end all parties.
God damn it! Here he goes
Fake.
again. Yeah, I'll go fake.
You're both wrong. Hollywood wrote it.
The good ones are Jason. The bad ones are Hollywood. That's what I need to change.
Let's party till you drop ... dead.
Fake.
Fake.
I wrote it. We both got it. Last one out is a goner.
That's fake.
Eric?
Yeah, fake.
Hollywood wrote it.
What a turd.
That was.
I almost said it was real because it was such shit. It's like Jason couldn't have written this because it doesn't even make sense.
They're all dying to have some fun.
I like that. I'm
was
going to say
good.
real. God damn it. If this is you, I'm going to be really pissed off.
I'm gonna go fake.
I wrote it.
Ah! Well done. That's
So
good.
two of the best ones. Thank you guys. I'm actually doing a
Absolutely.
good job here. The joke is on you.
Fake.
Oh my god. I'm going to say real.
I wrote it. Eric, you got your ass spanked 5-2 here, man. We are keeping score besides what fucking Josh says. Eric, you suck. But thank you guys for thinking a couple of mine were awesome. Thank y'all. But that's it. Moving on. Let's wrap this up.
I mean, the last thing to get to is really just the ultimate reveal of the end, which we've been talking about the whole show. But Eric, as a first time watch, how did you feel with the ending?
You know, I was ready for it. It didn't, it didn't blindside me or anything. I was like, okay, she's backed up to the doors. We're getting a reveal here. It was fun. What do you guys think about its relation? Like, I mean, what do you think about the game in relation to this? You're a Fincher fan, Josh. Like, this movie ends similarly to the game.
I will say, as a Fincher fan, the game is probably one of the least watched of Fincher's movies that I've watched. But I mean, I can see the relation to it.
Well, everything that just happened was a trick.
Yeah.
And how does that make you feel at the end? It's not satisfying completely.
Yeah, it's not. I mean, you just said it a minute ago. This movie needs that final kill or something. It needs that final payoff. And I think with it being a another gag, it hurts it ultimately.
I really think, you had the whole thing with the Jack in the Box there at the end. We found his fate. And like you said, I think it would have been cool to go off of the whole baby tape, really fucked up Nan.
Yeah.
With the abortion. Yeah. And you get the whole Jack in the Box and it pops open. And you're like, oh, about that time you see a knife come like through her fucking throat, like through from the behind. So you don't even see the killer. And you just see somebody looking at her and she falls over.
Oh, that would be you give it the Basic Instinct ending where it's like fucking somebody killed her. You're led to believe it could have been Nan because of all of this shit, but you ultimately don't find out who it was that killed her.
Anybody in that house could have.
Does the Jack in the Box and it pops up and it's a baby. And then the knife. So you can kind of assume
yeah.
Oh.
You know what I mean?
Hollywood, give us money. We want to make this again. We want to do it with A24.
It comes out, it's like it's the baby, tape.
No, that would be the A24 twist on it. Is it would be an actual baby crawling out of the fucking Jack in the Box. What does it all mean?
We don't know. And it just ends. That's it. It just ends right there with the baby crawling out of the box, and it's over.
Yeah.
You don't have no.
I agree that you needed like a release at the end there.
Right.
We all need a release at the end.
For lack of a better term. At the end
That's for men or women. You always need a release.
Nikki and Chaz are the only ones that got a release that weekend.
Yeah.
But they pulled a hamstring, so
yeah.
Pulled a hammy.
The trade-off.
And that's the other thing too, is you got Kit trying to get with Rob multiple times in this, and like you can like just the sheer they seem like an old married couple on this island full of kids that are just wanting to be horny all weekend.
He's like, I'm just not in the mood.
But see, but
I'm stressed out. And they also get interrupted by Skip's floating corpse.
But that's the thing it's exactly what Josh has said, and he made that point a number of times. It is definitely a male-female role reversal in this movie.
Yeah.
Because you got Kit, she's trying to get it on.
Yeah.
And she even does it. Remember, they even acted out where he's like, no.
Yeah.
No. Like
that shit's fun. I like that.
They flipped the script and everything. And I was like, I think it's cool because like you said, the normal trope for 80s films is TNA, all the women die except for the final girl.
Mm-hmm.
And you got to have a dumb jock. And you got to have these certain stereotypical people but you don't have that because they're all of them are spoiled brats that are somewhat smart going to college.
Well, I think this movie's a little ahead of its time, honestly, with some of this stuff, and not that everything works great, not that it would work a whole lot better now, but yeah, I think it is ahead of its time. It's poking fun at some things, and it's
absolutely.
I do think the ending kind of undercuts some of it, but ultimately these characters are kind of a reaction to, it's like a post horror film where they're looking at the conventions of horror or slashers in particular and kind of playing with those things. So yeah.
A24, Blumhouse, somebody, y'all give us a call. We'll write it for you.
Jason will write it for you.
Well, if you were checking out April Fool's Day on the Rotten Tomatoes, you'd see that it has a 55% on the tomato meter, 47% with the audience. That's probably about right. I mean, I could see this movie being a split down the middle.
But dude, it actually made good money. It was a budget of $5 million. It made 13. It made its money
I was
back.
surprised to see this wasn't a bomb. Rotten Tomatoes says if you like April Fool's Day, you might also like Curse of Chucky. Jason, you've probably seen that. I have not.
I've seen it.
The
real horror fan has seen it over here. Old real horror fan.
Oh, he's making fun of you this time, not me.
The Howling 2.
Hey, now, if my werewolf friends out there, I love The Howling. The Howling 2 is literally, dude. Hey, I'm talking about all my werewolf movie friends out there. The Howling 2 is all TNA. It's a porn. That's all Howling 2 is porn.
All right, I'm gonna watch. The Howling 2 is gonna be on the show soon, guys.
It's pretty much what I felt like. It's not good.
They also recommend Evil Speak. I have not seen that.
Okay, I don't see that one.
Dead and Buried, which I have seen. I do like that movie.
Yeah.
And Shut In, I've never heard of. So that's what they recommend if you like April Fool's Day.
Got me.
But let's go ahead and finish this bad boy up.
The good, the bad, the ugly.
Is that your Rob one? You know, where he's kind of boring and
run away, kid! I love you!
I love you, kid! Oh, what the hell?
My advisor doesn't think I'm serious.
I love Kit too. She's like, he just said you weren't serious enough. Like, she's like, what's the big deal? I'll go ahead and start. My good is the twist. I think the twist works in a sense. I think ultimately the movie doesn't work because it doesn't end very well, but I do like the twist that it's actually all a big prank. And I think the movie is a bit progressive for a movie that came out around this time, as far as like the homosexuality stuff and all of that whatnot we talked about earlier. The bad is feels too much like a Friday the 13th movie, and the continuity is
continuity. Say it right.
And I didn't have an ugly. I really couldn't come up with anything I could confirm is ugly in this movie. So, Jason, how about you?
My good is just like yours, pretty much. The twist on the first watch, it's cool. It's all right, you know. And I like that. Given the idea of the 80s, it doesn't follow the same tropes, and it's a little different. So I give them for thinking outside of the box. Bad, after you watch it once,
the jig is up.
Basically, it's the so. But even though Josh probably watched it 30 times trying to get to Debbie Does Dallas that comes on after it, I don't know, because he said it was on a recorded tape, so it's probably the porn that was after it.
I would have been fast forwarding to that, so no, I don't think it was.
Let's see. My ugly, it really doesn't hold up. I don't think. I mean, I could see where somebody might want to do it as a remake, maybe do a better job with it and update it. And I really don't consider it an 80s horror classic.
No, I don't consider it a classic either by any means.
Yeah, but I've seen it on lists that I've mentioned before where people talk about it, and I'm like, eh. But yeah, like I said, it was a little innovative for 80s horror, but I still think it was more comedy than horror.
That is a question. Do we think this is a horror movie or a comedy?
I would still say it's a horror movie.
You can't cheat by saying comedy harder. Horror.
I would still say it's a horror movie at heart.
Horror. If they would have killed her at the end,
agree. It's a horror
it would have definitely been a horror. That one kill would have made it a horror movie.
Yeah.
I think it's a horror movie. It just says that it isn't at the end, but it's still a horror movie.
Honestly, if you like this movie, I recommend you check out Tucker and Dale versus Evil.
Oh, that's a great double bill. Yeah.
That's comedy horror for sure.
It's like, yeah, like, and it kind of, it doesn't do exactly what this movie's trying to do, but it does something similar in a very fun way. Like, that movie is a fun comedy horror movie.
I do like Tucker and Dale. That's a fun watch.
Yeah,
for sure.
Yeah,
I should call you guys Tucker and Dale. Anywho,
all right, Eric.
If anything, Jason and I are Tucker and Dale. Am I right, Jason?
I guess.
Anyway, I don't know. Just visually speaking, good. How are we gonna feel after these beans?
That is a great prank. That one, the comedic timing of that one is spot on for me.
Farts are funny.
Yes.
Farts are funny. Tell my wife. She doesn't think it's funny. I don't know. Bad is Rob. He's boring. His plight is ridiculous.
Who?
Exactly. And ugly is Nan's toast. Nan's toast fell flat. No one liked it. It was awkward.
Nan, the rice cake nun.
I will say I had fun watching this for the show, at least. I like just pointing out the stuff in it that's ridiculous and what I like and what I don't like. I think ultimately, like, you could take this idea and make something pretty cool out of it if you did it the right way. They did do a straight to DVD remake of this, which kind of hits all the same beats, but it's different. It's like a different story. I haven't seen it, but straight to DVD, that tells you everything you need to know.
VOD trash.
Hey, whoa. There's a lot of movies, horror movies I like that don't go into theaters.
We know that, Jason.
Yeah.
We know you like a lot of shit.
I do. I know I like a lot of shit. A lot of the movies I like, I know are shit. I just enjoy them.
And until next time, be kind.
Rewind! Before the night is over, somebody's going to pull his wing.
You've been listening to the VHS Files Podcast.
Watch a few movies, take a few notes.
If you like what you heard, please subscribe and drop us a rating and a review wherever you get your podcast.
It was fun.
Send your questions, comments, and movie suggestions to vhsfilespodcast@gmail.com.
You sick fucks, you've seen one too many movies.
Don't you blame the movies!
Follow us on all social media outlets at VHS Files Podcast.
Movies don't create psychos!
Check out our YouTube channel for more content.
Movies make psychos more creative!
Thanks for listening.
Insert hot dog.
Insert hot dog.
Insert hot dog.
Because that's exactly what they say before you see the hot dog sliding out of the tube.
That's true. You're right.